Hello all, and today is the first class on operational research. Today is the first lesson on operational research. In this lesson, we shall just see how to formulate problems of operational research in such a way that it can be solved by using known algorithms. But before that, let's just see that what is the origin of the subject. So the origin of the subject goes back to one of the bloodiest time in human history, that is 1939 to 1945. This is the time when the whole world is at war once again, and hence it is known as World War II or Second World War. In this World War, or in this time period, there were mainly two forces which were fighting against each other. One was Axis and another one was Allied. Now the major forces in Axis forces were Italy, Japan and Nazi Germany. Whereas, on the other hand, the major players in Allied forces were the United Kingdom, the United States of America, France, and USSR, Soviet Russia, or Union of Socialist Soviet Republic. So, during the initial days, France, it completely fell under Nazi Germany. USA and the USSR, they were not at all in the fight, and it was mostly UK which were fighting both against Nazi Germany and Japan, against Japan in Asia and in Nazi Germany in Africa and Europe. So in the initial days, it was mostly UK which was taking all the hit, and it is noteworthy that UK was about to fall. About to fall means it was thoroughly bombed by Nazi Germany in Europe and Africa, and in Asia, Japan was winning land after land which were occupied by the forces from United Kingdom earlier. So during that time, the scientists from United Kingdom, they realized one thing, that their resources, when we say resources, what we mean is food, fuel, soldiers, etc. They were in limited quantity. They would always be available in limited quantity. You cannot have unlimited supply of food or unlimited supply of fuel or anything. There would always be scarcity of resources, and with that limited amount of resource, it shall have to attain its objective. What was the objective then? I am talking about the initial days. The first objective was to defend itself and to inflict as much damage as possible to the enemy. So it realized that it would always have scarcity of resources, and with that limited resource it has to attend its objective. So then the scientists from United Kingdom, they invented one field of study which is now known as operations research. So what does operational research do? Operational research, it helps the person or the organization who is using this subject to attain its objective and to realize that its resources are limited. So there is the application field where operational research is applied. Now let's see one practical example where operational research is applied, and that is, and let me tell you that this is one of the most active areas of research in uh, today's date, and that is treatment of cancer. Now what is cancer? Cancer is just unlimited or uncontrolled growth of certain human cells. I'm talking about only human beings here. Let's take an example where we have number of such human cells, and out of those human cells, let's say that this is one cell which is carcinogenic, this is another one which is carcinogenic, this is another which is carcinogenic, then maybe this one again is carcinogenic. So what can be done is that we can have some amount of radiation which can be given to the patient, and the radiation can be directed to this region so that the carcinogenic cells, they get totally damaged by radiation, whereas the healthy cells, they do not get damaged at all. But now see, what happens is that this particular radiation, it can hit one cancer cell directly, but what about this one? This will hit this cancer cell, but at the same time it will pass through this healthy cell, so this healthy cell, it would also get damaged. Similarly, this particular radiation, it might just damage this healthy cell, and it would not hit any cancer cell. Whereas at the other hand, if we take the example of this particular radiation, then it may hit this cancer cell, but it would not touch other healthy cells. So we can see that here we can achieve our objective of hitting as many cancer cells as possible, but at the same time would be damaging some amount of healthy cells. Now, in any cancer treatment, our sole purpose is to damage as many cancer cells as possible, whereas at the same time we need to ensure that the healthy cells, they remain healthy and they do not get hit by any type of radiation. So here our objective is to maximize the impact of radiation on cancer cells and minimize the impact of radiation on these healthy cells with limited resource. Now, why do we say limited resource? Because this radiation, they have to be controlled. It's not that we can have unlimited radiation available to or being given to the patient, because if uncontrolled or unlimited radiation is given to the patient, then well, you can think yourself that what will be the condition of the patient. The patient would die out of being exposure to this harmful radiation even before the person succumbs to this cancer. So the resource that is to be used here, that is this radiation, that is limited, and with that limited resource we need to ensure that maximum number of this cancer cells, they get hit, but at the same time minimum number of these healthy cells, they remain untouched. So this is one particular area of operational research which is in high demand right now. Now let's take a very simple example and see how can we solve or how can we formulate a problem of operational research in such a manner that it can be solved using certain algorithms that we would be discussing in our future lectures in an effective manner. So let's start with our first example of formulation of operational research problem. In this particular problem, let's say that we have a vendor. This is a person who sells some Indian sweet, and let's say that he sells maybe rasgulla, which is one of the very popular Indian sweet. In fact, there has been some legal case being fought in this court based on rasgulla, if I'm not wrong. And for making rasgulla, the ingredients that are required mainly are milk and sugar. Now let's say that the person not only sells rasgulla but its cousin too, and the cousin of rasgulla that we are talking about is gulab jamun. For gulab jamun, once again the ingredients that are required are milk and sugar, but the quantity or the combination of milk and sugar for rasgulla and the combination of milk and sugar for gulab jamun, they two are completely different. So let's take the example in a more formal manner where we express it in a tabular form. Say the sweet rasgulla is abbreviated by the letter R and gulab jamun by the letter G, and the resources that are required are represented by sugar, sorry, M for milk and S for sugar. Now let's say that for making one rasgulla, only one piece of rasgulla, the person requires, or let's just say that for one as we were saying that for making one piece of rasgulla, let's say that the person requires how much, 0.5 liter of milk and 100 grams of sugar. So if we just write the, or just consider the numerical values, then for making one rasgulla, the person would require 0.5 liters of milk and 100 grams of sugar. Similarly, for making gulab jamun, let's say that the person requires 0.6 liters of milk and 110 grams of sugar. Let's assume that. Then in tabular form it can be written as for making one piece of gulab jamun, the milk required is 0.6 liter and the amount of sugar that is required is 110 grams. But let's say that, or let's assume that the amount of milk that is available with this person is only 1 liter, and let's say that he has only 250 grams of sugar. So see, he has got only 1 liter of milk, so he cannot produce both milk both rasgulla and gulab jamun, because if he wants to manufacture both rasgulla and gulab jamun, then the total requirement of milk becomes 1.1 liter, and that exceeds the amount of milk that is available with the person. So he can either make rasgulla or he can make gulab jamun, but he cannot make both. But at the same time he has got 250 gram of sugar, but if he manufactures both rasgulla and gulab jamun, then the total consumption of sugar would be 210 grams. That is 110 gram plus 100, that is equal to 220 grams, and he has got an excess of an excess of 30 gram, because the total amount of sugar that is available is 250 gram. So that's why if we just look at that sugar part, then he can manufacture both rasgulla and gulab jamun. But if we look at the milk part, then he can manufacture either rasgulla or gulab jamun. So, so now let's see that which one would he manufacture. Now see, it is easy to it is very essential to remember that this person is actually a trader or a businessman. So he would manufacture either rasgulla or gulab jamun based upon which one or which one generates the maximum amount of money for him. And see, money is something which is driving the whole world. If there is any conflict in this world in today's date, then that is somehow related to money. Without money nobody can survive. If someone tells you that money is nothing, money you just go after something else, go after something bigger or higher, and you do not have to consider anything about money, then that person is either a hermit or a liar. Because for any normal human being, we do need money. Without money we cannot survive, forget about thriving. So money is something which is very very important. So let's say that by selling one rasgulla, he makes a profit of 6 rupees. And by selling one gulab jamun, he makes a profit of 5 rupees. I am giving some advantage to rasgulla because this is my personal favorite sweet dish. That's why, of course, I would give some amount of privilege, money, or some favor to this particular sweet. Anyhow, so let's continue. So now see, he is producing. He is capable of producing either rasgulla or gulab jamun, but by selling one rasgulla he makes a profit of 6 rupees, and by selling one gulab jamun he makes a profit of 5 rupees. So it is very straightforward calculation for us, that the profit would be maximum if he manufactures rasgulla. So it is a very straightforward calculation or a very straightforward decision for us, but often the decision is not this simple. Let's further expand the particular example that we have considered here, because do not forget that this person here, he is for generating money. So he will definitely not stop at making only one piece of the sweet dish. In fact, he, let's say that tomorrow he becomes a big businessman and he starts his own shop. So, or let's say that food joint, something like that, something big. So he would not be making only one rasgulla or one gulab jamun anymore. In fact, he would be mass producing rasgulla, he would be mass producing gulab jamun. So now this person would not be talking in one piece or two piece, he would be talking in kgs, that how many kg of rasgulla he wants to make, or how many kg of gulab jamun he wants to make. That, let's take this example, or let's just discuss further. See, this person is now big businessman, but still now he deals with primarily these two types of sweet dishes, there is rasgulla and gulab jamun. And now let's say that for making 1 kg, for making 1 kg of rasgulla, the person requires, the resources are still the same, there is milk and sugar. Say for making 1 kg of rasgulla, he still needs he still needs 5 liter of milk and 1 kg of sugar. Similarly, for making or for producing 1 kg of gulab jamun, he requires 6 kg of milk and 1.1 kg of sugar. But now he has got more money, so he can buy, let's say, 20 liters of milk, and let's say that he has got a total of 20 kg of sugar. So if he has got this much amount of sugar and milk available to him, then he can definitely produce much more than 1 kg of sugar and 1 kg of rasgulla and gulab jamun. So let's say that he produces x1 kg of rasgulla and for gulab jamun he decides that, or he assumes that, not decides, but he assumes that he would produce x2 kg of gulab jamun. Now see, if he produces x1 kg of rasgulla, then the total requirement of milk would be 5 multiplied by x1, because see, for each kg of rasgulla he needs 5 liter of milk. Therefore, if he producing x1 kg of rasgulla, he'd be requiring 5 into x1 liters of milk. Similarly, for producing 1 liter of 1 kg of rasgulla, he requires 1 kg of sugar. Therefore, for making x1 kg of rasgulla, he requires a total of 1 into x1 kg of sugar. Let's take the example of gulab jamun now. For producing 1 kg of gulab jamun, the vendor or the businessman, he needs 6 liter of milk. So if he assumes that he is making x2 kg of gulab jamun, then the amount of milk that he would be requiring is 6 into x1. Similarly, the amount of sugar that he would be requiring would be 1.1 multiplied by x2. Sorry, my mistake, it should be x2. x2. So see, the total requirement for milk in this case, if he decides that he would be producing both rasgulla and gulab jamun, would be 5x1 plus 6x2. This is the total requirement of milk. Similarly, the total requirement of sugar would be x x1 plus 1.x2, because x1 is the amount of sugar that he requires for making 1 kg x1 kg of rasgulla, and 1.1 into x2 is the amount of sugar that the person requires for manufacturing x2 kg of gulab jamun. But still now he is a businessman, so his decision would be driven by the amount of profit that he makes. So let's say that by selling gulab jamun, he makes a profit. By selling 1 kg of gulab jamun, he makes a profit of let's say 40 rupees now. And by selling 1 kg of rasgulla, let's say that he makes a profit of 60 rupees now. Therefore, if he sells x1 kg of rasgulla, then the total profit would be 60 multiplied by x1. That means he would be making a profit of 60 x1 only by selling rasgulla. Similarly, by selling 1 kg of gulab jamun, he makes a profit of 40 rupees. Therefore, if he sells a total of x2 kg of gulab jamun, then he makes a total profit of 40 into x2. So the total profit that he makes by selling both rasgulla and gulab jamun is 60 x1 plus 40 x2. This is the total profit that the person is making, and the total resource is such that, or the total requirement of resource is such that, for milk it is 5x1 plus 6x2. Plus 6x2. Now see, the total amount of milk that is available is 20 liter. Therefore, his total consumption, that is 5x1, just write it again. The total consumption of milk for producing both rasgulla and gulab jamun would be 5x1 plus 6x2, as is mentioned here, and this total consumption cannot exceed the total amount of milk that is available with the person. The total amount of milk that is available is 20 liter. So the total consumption can be either less than 20 liter or at max equal to 20 liter, but it can never be more than 20 liter. Similarly, the total consumption of sugar would be, as mentioned here, for producing both rasgulla and gulab jamun, would be x1 plus 1.1 x2, and it cannot exceed the total amount of sugar that is available with the person, and the total amount of sugar that is available is 20 kg here. So this one has to be either less than or equal to 20 kg of sugar that is available with the person. Now he can produce either no rasgulla or no gulab jamun or something more than uh, zero. That means he can have any positive number of gulab jamun or positive number of rasgulla, but he can never produce -1 kg of gulab jamun or -2 kg of rasgulla. That is simply not possible. So the whatever decision he gets by solving all these expressions together, it can never exceed, or sorry, it can never violate this particular condition, that is both this x1 and x2 are to be either greater than 0 or should at best equal to 0, but it can never be less than 0. That is, the person can never produce any negative quantity of rasgulla or negative quantity of gulab jamun. That is simply not possible. Either he will not produce any gulab jamun or rasgulla, that is he will mathematically he would produce 0 quantity of rasgulla or 0 quantity of gulab jamun in that case, or he will produce positive quantity of rasgulla or gulab jamun. That is maybe he produces 1 kg, or maybe he produces 2 kg of gulab jamun, something like that. So this is how we formulate a problem, and after we have formulated this problem, we can solve it using different methods that we shall be discussing in our future classes. So with this I conclude my today's lecture. Thank you.